thank you for clicking on the video. I hope everyone has been doing well. It's been a minute since I have posted anything, but I've been working on it. I've had some things happen that I'm going to be sharing in the upcoming near future. It's been kind of difficult for me to really get back on here and get with this, which is what I want more than anything. I don't know, for some reason it seemed easier back when I used to just pop on Facebook and make a video about how I felt and get into all kinds of things and then jump off. But on YouTube, it feels a little different to me. You know, you have to be a little more prepared and put a little bit more into it. And so, I don't know, just a different ballgame. But I've been working on some things. My channel is still small, but I'm excited about my subscribers. I've gotten several more this week. I really appreciate everyone. And go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you're just running across my videos for the first time, because I will be having ongoing content in the future. And that helps my channel to grow. So tonight I want to get into... Yes, I am in my bathroom, by the way. Just bear with me. It's where I have to film right now. Quiet, private, peaceful for the time being. So, yes, and I'm having trouble with this light. I don't want it right in my face, but anyway, as I was saying, I want to discuss spiritual gang stalking. Okay? And before I get into the topic, I also want to say that my videos are for educational and entertainment purposes only, for spreading awareness, for discussing and examining things that I personally find interesting, moving, that I'm passionate about, and just my personal thoughts and feelings on things, you know, from my personal experience. And I like to do that. So that's that. Now, with that being said, on to the spiritual gang stalking topic. Now, I first heard the term, it hasn't been long, okay? And I have a history with, you know, having a passion for psychology, spiritual studies, all kinds of different things, you know, most of my life. But I only recently ran into the term gang stalking. And I think it originated from cyberbullying. I did take it upon myself this week to do a little bit more research into it. When I first heard the term last year, it resonated with me, and I just immediately, when I heard the word gang stalking, I just felt like I didn't think of it in the literal sense. It was a spiritual thing for me. That's what resonated with me, like gang stalking. Wow, you know, that could be what might have been happening to me a lot of these years, because more and more I've been feeling this wave of something coming after me, something always getting in my way of what I want to achieve. Okay. But still, even at that time when I heard the word, you know, I saw videos on YouTube, I knew the information was out there, but I wasn't able to just really focus in on it and familiarize myself with it. Not at that time. So in the last week or so, I've began, you know, to look into it more, and I am aware that it's a term that's commonly used for targeted individuals who are, when I studied on it this week, it sounded like a horrific thing, like almost something out of a movie, like a targeted individual who has either been lied on, or for some reason they have been targeted by a group of individuals who use all sorts of means to torment, harass, stalk, confuse, This can be by means of using the internet, text messaging, phone calling, going by their house, doing all sorts of things. This got really deep. If you look up gang stalking, this phenomenon and what it really is, there's a lot involved in it. Shit that I couldn't even imagine being done to people. And I'm still in the midst of doing more research on it. It's really hard for me to believe that it's actually a thing with all that was involved in it. So that's the literal meaning of that term. That's I believe where it really started. But I'm going to shift the focus over onto spiritual gang stalking, okay? And for me, personally, I feel like everything has a spiritual component. Everything. I just do. And that's based on my personal experience, what I have felt and seen and been through in my life, what resonates with me very deeply. I feel like everything has a spiritual component to it. Something that we can't see, that we are not always aware of, energies, entities, and things that are just really beyond our immediate comprehension. Things behind the scenes going on that are much deeper and much more than we know. I believe that. I feel that. Okay? And so I had an experience this afternoon that actually sparked me wanting to do this video. The spiritual gang stalking, I feel like, just to put it in simple terms, is when you're in a place in your life where you're trying your best to focus on you. You have gotten more spiritual, less interested in what everyone else in the world is going after, and you've already been down the road with every, from whatever, relationships, marriages, every stage of just about everything imaginable you've kind of been through, and you really want something more out of life. You really want to tune into yourself and align yourself with your higher power or something higher than yourself. You want to really start working on your purpose. You're doing light work if you're one of those people that's always been sort of working on yourself, and you're involved in doing spiritual work, any of those kind of things. When you get to a point in your life where you're kind of on that level, I feel like for some of us, it may not happen to everyone that's doing that type of work, but for a lot of us, something negative is trying to prevent it. I've just seen so many cases of this. It seems like the bright, outgoing, shiny people that are, finding peace within themselves or finding contentment. They are delighted with the small things in their life. They're busy creating, working on projects, staying in their lane, thinking, meditating, just really doing their thing. They have a strong message to bring to others. They're inspirational. I have found that in a lot of cases, it seems like there is something chasing that energy that wants to put a stop to it. And I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds flaky to some people. But, we can all relate to that, can we not? Who hasn't said that? Man, it seems like every time I really get going on this, something has to interrupt it. Or man, every time I get something good going for me, damn, this happens. Or so-and-so comes back into my life. Or who hasn't felt that at least once in their life? Okay, I think there's a lot more to that than we really know. And of course, I'm a critical thinker as well as a spiritual person. I believe science and spirituality, it all works together. That's just me. To me, I can't have the most accurate, well-balanced opinion or examination of anything without calling upon both of those. Not only science and critical thinking, but also my spiritual side, my intuition. I feel like all of that has to work together. We need both. That's what I personally feel. And so, who can't relate to that, okay? I had an experience today that sparked this whole thing, just to kind of give you an example. And if you just look at one incident of this, then you'll just go, what? What are you tripping on? That's just bullshit. That's a coincidence. So what? That's everyday life. That's this, that's that. Okay. But if you were to step into that person's shoes and come to find out that very same thing had happened to them over and over and over and over relentlessly, and that one little thing may not seem like much to you, but to them, it's like it never stops. Okay, and I'm going to get into this. I'm going to tell you why. It can be kind of complex. And when I tell you about it, a lot of people who are into psychology or who have been doing psychological work, they will understand that it will sound like a trauma response, being triggered, responding because you have been traumatized and you are responding in a hypersensitive or overly sensitive way. You're being triggered, and a lot of people will see it like that. That's fine. I'm aware of that. And I think that is, of course, a big part of it that I'm fully aware of and working through all of that. So that's one part of it. The other part of it, I believe, is highly spiritual. And I do believe there's a lot more to it than just being triggered and overly traumatized. So, this afternoon, I was giving a person a ride to work. This is a blood relation family member. That's as far as I'll go with that. And they asked me for something before we got to their job. I had a pack of masks in my car that I bought for an emergency situation, just some backup masks. And I have my own collection of masks, so I don't need to tear into that one bag. I just wanted something I wanted to keep put up just in case of emergencies. They were really good, high quality masks, not to be thrown away. They could be washed and reused, whatever, what have you. Okay. I had already given this particular person 2 of those masks before. When I first got the bag several weeks ago, I said, these are for emergencies. I would like to keep them put up. Sure, I don't mind giving you one. Just take care of it. Wash it, reuse it, don't lose it. They came back to me a week later. This person's a family member. I see them a lot. I give them rides to work a lot. The very next time I had to take them to work, they asked me the same question. Hey, can I have another one of those masks? I said, okay, but there's only a few left, and I already gave you one. Those are really good quality masks. They can be washed and reused. Did you lose it? What happened to it? Okay, cool. I'll give you another one. This is the last one, okay? Please don't ask me again. These are mine, and I'd like to leave them alone. I'd like to keep them put up. We're not just going to, because this is a person who is notorious for going through things really quickly and losing them, not keeping up with those things responsibly. That's the point I'm getting to. That's what bothers me. It's not giving the person a damn mask. Who cares? It's the point. That's, it's the principle of the whole thing. So I gave them a second mask, and, I made my boundary. This was important to me. I don't care how little tiny it seems to anyone else. Second one. Now this grants you, this is something of mine. That whether I spent money on it or whether it was given to me, it belonged to me. And I have a right to do what I want to do with it and to conserve it if I want to. So I gave out 2 of them, and I set a boundary, and I said, okay, this is the last one. There won't be any more for you, so don't ask again, okay? Here's your second one. Please keep up with it. Again, these are good, high-quality cotton masks. They can be washed and reused. Please don't lose this. Okay? A couple weeks went by. First of all, this person should have their own mask, their own collection of masks, their own stuff, and they should not be coming at anyone else to keep up with that and provide that for them all the time. It's annoying. I'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, a couple weeks go by, and giving them a ride again. And this happens to fall on a very stressful day. And they, lo and behold, ask me again. Okay, and here's where my boundaries come into play, where I can either say I don't have them, but I know they're right there in the car, in the back seat, probably visible, or I can say, no, I told you, no more. I've already given you 2, that's enough. I can, get into that and look like an asshole. This person is really starting to put me in a situation over something really small, but who's at fault here in situations like this? You know what I'm saying? Is it the person that owns the thing and doesn't want to keep giving it out and has already told the other person to be responsible 2 or 3 times now? Okay, so it happened again, and yes, I literally gave in again. Now here's where I really start wearing thin with myself, and it starts giving me a lot of issue. A little more time went by, and then today, I'm taking the person to work, and I haven't heard about these masks in a while. I'm thinking, okay, it's over. I've already given them enough. They're going to keep up with their own stuff. And it came up again today, and they asked me for a mask, and I just thought I was going to have a complete and total meltdown. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this was the 4th time, not only that I had given up another thing that, probably wasn't a big deal, but it's the point that it was mine. It was something I was trying to keep a supply of, and this person had been running through them, and every time I gave them one, not keeping up with it, not putting any value on it, not thinking about what they had been told, that there's a boundary there, I can't go back for any more. And I know this seems like a very small thing, but I'm using this very tiny thing as an example for something much larger. Boundaries. Constant boundary breaking, constant boundary stomping, disrespect to people, and how it feels, and how I think gang stalking is factoring in. It's an example of it. So I really snapped this time, and I said, you know what? You shouldn't be asking me this. I've already given you enough of those, and the rest are mine to keep put away. I told you the last time, don't ask me for another one. You should be keeping up with this yourself. That's your responsibility to provide yourself with masks. And here's where it gets crazy. I was in my lane. I was minding my own business. I did not ask them for anything. They asked me for something. They came into my lane. Not only did they not respect the boundary and say, oh, I apologize, you're right. You have given me 3 of those and I have wasted them. I have lost them. I've been very irresponsible. I can't seem to keep up with a mask. I apologize. Any of that. They did not say any of that. No accountability, no apology. Not only did they do that, but they began an attack because I got angry, rightfully so, after 4 times now. And it's not the point that they were asking me for a simple mask. It was the point that I had set a boundary 3 different times and said, that's enough. That's all you get. Don't ask again. Don't come back to me for this. And there's so many things going wrong in that situation. Irresponsibility, lack of boundaries, lack of respect for boundaries, disrespect, no regard for the person, their feelings, their boundaries, resources. There's so many things going wrong there. And then what he responded with was, oh, well, since I set down a boundary and I didn't want to keep being responsible. It's annoying when you have to keep being responsible for even the smallest thing. It's like, hey, can I get a light? 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 You know how smokers do that. Get your own fucking lighter. I will fucking give you a lighter. I'll do anything just to stop you from asking me every 5 minutes, every other day, every week, whatever. Get your own. People, get your own. Keep up with your own stuff. And if someone is nice enough and generous enough to give you something, fucking treasure it. Keep up with it. Be responsible for it. And don't keep going back and asking them more and more. But I'm going to get into that. How being nice is not always. And I realized that that's my responsibility. Part of it's my responsibility. Okay, we're going to have science and critical thinking and psychology on the one hand, and we're going to have the spiritual part on the other hand, all factoring in here. I realized that that's my responsibility. That the first time this ever happened, never again. I don't have anything for you, and you will not get one. You will do without. I've already done what I said I would do for you, and you're crossing a boundary. Respect me or else. And that's really the way we have to be with people. But for us to just keep giving in and keep giving in, oh, I know it's back there. I'm going to look like an asshole if I don't just keep giving it. And, okay, so here comes the attack today. After I set that boundary, and I showed rightful anger that I was being stomped on, basically, and I didn't want to hear this anymore. Don't ask me anymore. That's mine. That's a boundary. Look elsewhere. Don't ask me anymore. Then it was turned on me immediately. The person said something to the effect of, well, then I guess I shouldn't have done such and such and such and such for you the other day. Something to do with, I guess, giving money for their part of the gasoline for the rides or the bills or whatever, I forget exactly what was going on. It all happened pretty fast, and it was the most toxic spin that happened so quickly. And it really felt like a major attack on me. And it felt like more than just an argument over a mask. It turned into something, it really did feel like a spiritual attack. I was in my lane. This was over something that had been coming at me and coming at me and coming at me and coming at me over and over again. That the point is not a mask. The point was a boundary, a respect for a boundary. And then once I say, hey, that's that, their reaction was dismissive of me. Oh, that's no big deal. What do you mean you can't? All of those kinds of reactions are so disrespectful. And after that's been done to you enough times by the people closest to you, you begin to feel like a non-entity. The anger and the rage and the resentment inside of you for not holding firm to your boundary and letting them do it to you time and time again, you'll get to the point where you can't even cope with yourself. It will drive you that insane. This is why boundaries are so important. And not ever feeling guilty about them, set them down. Because the way I feel tonight, after what happened this afternoon, that one incident turned into an enormous fight between a blood relative and I that I love very much. It got very ugly, and he began turning the whole thing because he asked me for something that I had already told him no on, and I had set a boundary on 3 or 4 times. Because he came into my lane and asked me for something, and he didn't get the response he wanted. And I got angry, and I began letting him know assertively, this has been going on too long. This doesn't need to happen anymore. Everything got turned on me in a very toxic way. Blame shifting. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. It ruined my entire evening. I haven't felt right since. I was thrown off at my job tonight. I've been thrown off on making my content. I was unable to think clearly. It was horrible. And I feel like, yes, number one, I was being triggered and I was responding from a place of trauma because I have been extremely traumatized over the last few years of living with an alcoholic for 5 years who did the exact same thing. No boundaries, came at me relentlessly night and day. There was no stopping it. And all of that, I can get into that another time. All of the psychological twisting and gaslighting and really had an effect on me. Then other people outside of my relationship in my family were coming at me in the same way. So I went through a very traumatized period of years. So looking at it psychologically, yes, I am being extremely triggered when someone won't respect a boundary. It's not about that little mask. And that's what the person didn't understand. They're like, it's just a fucking mask. Who cares? Who cares? We can always get more of those. I don't care if it was this pen. I don't care if it was my fingernail clipping, a pencil eraser. Sometimes in this world, especially if we've been traumatized, invaded, gaslighted, stomped on, had our space invaded, if we have been traumatized, been through anything, it could be childhood, it could be adult years, and we're still working on healing from that, our personal space and boundaries are very important to us. And people who haven't been traumatized have a hard time realizing that. And for them to just dismiss it, it's even worse. It makes it even worse. But people like us, we have to have something in this world, no matter how small, that's just ours. That nobody's going to ask for it. They're not going to forcibly take it. They're not going to shit on us when we say that's ours. Those types of things are very important to us. That people recognize that we're important, that we deserve respect, and when we say no about something, we damn well mean it. And I definitely learned my lesson. I've been struggling with these boundary issues for most of my life because I don't want to hurt the people I love. I don't want to look like the asshole who won't share what I have. But I've definitely learned my lesson that if you give too much, they will come after you relentlessly. They will have an attitude of spitting in your face like you don't mean shit. Oh, you're no big deal. Just give it to me. What the hell? That is the fucking attitude you will get. And they won't even realize. It is up to you. It is up to us to protect our boundaries at all costs. I don't give a damn if it's as small as a pencil eraser. If it is yours and you wish to keep it, and that's your personal boundary, you have to stand by it. And I have learned that lesson. I have definitely learned that lesson. And each incident that happens to me like that, it drives it home harder and harder with me that I will not feel guilty. I will not be run over in that way and dismissed like that. And it stems from just little bitty things like that. Now, we talked about the psychological perspective. Now let's talk about the spiritual perspective real quickly. The spiritual gang stalking. I feel like that is part of it. When someone comes at you and you're in your lane, they're asking you for something. They need something from you. Okay? And especially if you're tied up together, your close family, your roommates, your partners, you have money tied up together, if they're paying bills, or they will take the slightest little things and twist it around. Like, oh, well, if I pay bills, then that entitles me to ask you for anything I want at any time. They get things really twisted up, and they will pull all of that on you. And so, if someone keeps coming at you after you have set a boundary down like that, and they just keep coming relentlessly, either asking you for things, using your time and energy, I'm going to have to do a part 2 on this, about all that could be involved in gang stalking. But that's what I feel like it is. I feel like there is a spiritual war. I actually mentioned this in one of my videos back earlier in the summer. Like I said, back then I didn't know quite how to put words to the gang stalking thing, but I did bring it up. And I was really trying to wrap my mind around it back then. And I was talking about how it feels like there's this negative force that wants to stop you. It wants to distract you, upset you at work.